Namaste. Varun sent a question about the alignment of the feet, and I'm going to try and answer. I think the alignment of the feet in Ashtanga, this is what I've heard, big toes are together, second toe in line with the heel, the back. I agree with that, and I find a lot of people struggle to really get that. It almost feels like the feet are rolling in. But to answer the question of alignment of the feet, and the question was also asked, how does it relate to the hips, the rib cage, and the pelvis, and the legs? You do need to address what the legs are doing and what the hips are doing to get where the feet are going. And I think people really struggle with alignment of the feet because the pelvis is not in the right place. Okay, so if I would say we want the big toes together and the heels slightly apart, where the second toe is directly in line with the heel. Standing like that, my body naturally would give it such a lower back arch and such a sunkenness into the thighs. But there's so much more to the story, so let's start. First of all, root. And as you root, your pelvis, if you feel the connection to the floor and to the earth, the pelvis, if it's too tilted, this is tilted forward, then it will naturally start to relax and tilt back. Now the weight comes into my heels, and even that I would be maybe even more comfortable with having my feet parallel than turned out. So it's an inner thigh rotation. My favorite is, you all have yoga blocks. Most people have yoga blocks. I've just discovered these awesome, I think they're Pilates balls. Discovered these balls and I put them between the thighs. And that immediately does everything I need to describe, because you're squeezing. So Pilates, a yoga block works perfect. Hug, coccyx down, thighs back, hip bones up, big toes down, and so now I've got an inner thigh rotation to activate the outer thigh, inner thigh, and then to activate the glute medius. You isometric just means that you're activating, but it's not physically moving. So that would be kind of an isometric movement. You pull the heels towards each other, and it engages the back and sides of your leg. And there, if I look down, I really have got that position of second toe in line with the heel. Some people talk about putting the outside of the foot in a straight line. It's a bit much, but it's a good way of thinking. I think it's a bit much. So if I now engage the legs like we just did, an inner rotation, lifting of the pelvis, engaging in the glute medius, and hugging down, I'm quite happy to feel my feet rooting in one way. It's very similar to the arm position. I'll explain that now. Hands, feet down, and then rotate so that the heels move towards each other. It's exactly what you're doing in an arm balance position. It's a press, a lengthen. So you naturally got the inner rotation because of the shoulder, but then you plant your hand, put it down, and you rotate the upper arm outwards. So I'm engaging, but I'm still lengthening. Okay, so it's an inner rotation with an outer rotation. Rooting down, lifting up, and the most auspicious feeling, you can really feel it happening, and the best words you can use is Mula Bandha. But to explain Mula Bandha, and the way I like to feel it, is lift the anus. Because as soon as Mula Bandha, and it's not squeezing, it's a lift for me. Okay, all opinion, all can change and progress on this. To lift the anus helps me to elongate the hips up, the side body long, and then the shoulder will be in line with the hip. So I don't want to stand either with my shoulders behind my hips or shoulders in front of my hips. But that's maybe even a better alignment than that one. But this is even a worse alignment, and they are in line. Yeah. So we want to get the lift the relax, and the length. So we go back to, in Yoga Synergy, they teach this position, and it really, really brings everything that you need to know together. Bending the knees, opening the lower back, lifting in the side body, and then elongating and lifting in the lat. So if I do that and I really engage, and you really can't do something other than with the feet then, they're parallel, you're engaging the inner thighs, and you're pulling out, and you're lengthening out. Then when you come stand, whoop, whoop, and you're standing. The legs are really engaged, but my hips or my shoulders are not tight. And lastly, I'm going to show you this. They call them stretch bands or super bands. And this is how I'm going to put, so terra bands also work. If you make a terra band in a loop, perfect. Because terra bands I think are more available. I'm going to sit down to get this over my feet, and I'm going to show you lying down. You can't really stand with these bands on. So I'm taking it on the inside of the thigh, I'm pulling it over. And now, because I'm engaging all my muscles, it will get into the right position. So I lie down and hold the band, straighten it out. And I engage into the core. So my lower back sacrum is nice and flat, lower back on the floor. And I extend. As I extend through the inner thighs, I'll feel where my big toes are going. And then I can hug into the core. And that will bring my feet into that kind of alignment there. So perfectly straight. Okay. And when we start, our feet are doing all sorts of things when we start yoga initially. And especially if you've had dancing training, ballet training, we think that's the only way we can balance, is with a turnout. But in actual fact, this is so engaged, so down, and so loose in the hip that when I strengthen in a parallel position, and then I start to need to turn out, the right muscles are available. So really, really give yourself the opportunity to feel the inner rotation with the lift of the hips and the outer rotation, the elongation of the sacrum. And so for final, what else do I need to say? That I believe big toes can touch. I'm not too fussed about it. I said big toes can touch. It's like a little triangle by the heels, and then an isometric movement to bring the heels kind of pulling together so you get the anus to really, really work, and lifting up in the hips, thighs back, stabilize, and then I lift in the belly so that even if I needed to, the pelvis is not tight. I'm engaged through the legs, I'm lengthened through the torso, and I'm loose in the joints. Yeah. So never hold too tight either. It's an activation, an elongation, and a relax. A rooting. I'd even say a rooting, a softening is a nice way to say it. Good. I really hope I answered this question. Please send more questions to me. I freely would love to share with you. Thank you for being with me today. Namaste.